I know there's all this, and it's scary and all of that, and I'm one of them that would be, presumably filtered out or shut down. But they tried to stop people drinking in the 1930s, and then you had bootleggers and during Prohibition, people got round all this. People are clever and resilient, and in fact, when I was a kid, you had Radio One, and many times there would be a song that was banned. And in fact, because it was banned, it went to number one in the charts because people were going, hang on, if it's that bad, I want to hear it. Thanks very much. What now? We in the West, I think, are far, far more resilient at this than, say, in China, who over generations have been dumbed down to the point that they will just have to obey. And we are at a critical point in our history here in the West where we really have got to push back at these dictatorial things. But I think it doesn't matter what they do. I think that there's the dark web, there's various other places we will just start to spill out onto and go, okay, if you're shutting down YouTube, you're shutting down Rumble, or you're not letting us talk, we're going somewhere else. We'll do something else. And the thing is, people are incredibly clever. So I have huge faith in humanity in and of itself for its resilience and I can't say it now, innovative ideas and ways of circumventing the old establishment, which is a very slow sort of a sledgehammer to crack a nut. And the time it takes to swing that sledgehammer, 15 squirrels have been in, grabbed the nuts and scarpered. So I'm not too worried about all of that because I think people will just disappear into different corners.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying then you're optimistic then about the future. You're optimistic about the future.
I am absolutely. I mean, yeah, and I think that message needs to be sung from the highest church steeple, because if people just think, oh, well, that's the end, then there's no point me even trying. You're letting them win. We're not here. I mean, the fact that you and I are talking is because we've got a different opinion to the mainstream media, and they wouldn't have me on. They wouldn't let me speak. And we've seen how people like Lawrence Fox, for all his stupidity recently, has been, taken off from the home of free speech platform, GB News, which claims to be the home of free speech because it's governed or controlled by Ofcom. So he can't actually say whether or not he wants to sleep with one particular person or not. It's none of our business, and it was a crass thing to do. But I'd still defend his right to be able to say what he wanted to say. And, by his own rope, he can hang himself. But I do think that it's nonsense them saying, oh, well, we'll suspend you because you used a bit of free speech. Well, they won't let us talk. So I think we shouldn't be, we should be careful by talking up their policies as if they are going to be a fait accompli and they're going to stop us. Because I think we need, this is what I think your generation, on the whole, need to grow those balls and go, I'm not going to put up with this. I lived as a kid in the shadow of the Second World War. I wasn't around. It was 20 years before my time. But the people who fought in the Second World War those that would talk about it, of course, there were those that didn't, but they were very proud that we defended our country, that the Nazis came with their bombs and that we were in the shelters and what have you. And as I say, so I lived in the shadow of that. That resilience to go, you ain't going to stop us. Who are you? Who are you to stop us? And that's what I think the next generation are in fear of losing, that sense of purpose, that sense of righteousness, to say, actually, you may be authority, but we put you there. We put you there. If we are going to acquiesce to your stupid system of voting in a government, you've got to remember you are our servants. Man came first. God came first, let's say, if you believe in a God or a source or whatever a spirituality thing is. Then comes man, and he goes, my goodness, look, there's a load of us and we're all just sort of, let's get an administration together so that life can be a bit more organized. So they appoint or elect or vote for somebody or a bunch of somebodies to run things. So the government are beneath us. And that's what people have got to remember. The government are beneath that. They're our servant. We pay their bills. And when they start doing things like, oh, we're going to give you digital IDs, or we're going to charge you through ULEZ cameras, or we're going to make you eat bugs, or any of the other crap that they're throwing at us that none of us have actually agreed to or voted for, then it's time we say to them, hang on a second, you are our servants. And that's how we push back. Or we turn our backs completely on them and say, do you know what, we decided we don't want that kind of government. We want a bit of anarchy now, a bit of self-rule, and we'll sort it out ourselves. We'll take back the responsibility for ourselves. And that's easy for me and my generation to conceive, but it does seem that younger people who have had everything done for them and they're entitled and, it's my right to have this. Well, if it's your right, get on with it then. Don't keep asking other people for those rights. If they're your rights, you've got them. You don't need to ask permission from the government. Just do it.